Hello, this is Micki from Purehealth Clinic. Thanks for tuning in. You'll have to forgive me today if it's a bit squinty, if I'm a bit squinty. It's very bright here today. I'll close the curtains, so hopefully I shouldn't be squinting at you too much. Today we're going to do another Ask Micki session. I hope you enjoyed the last one, or the first one I ever did, which was on a protocol for long COVID sufferers. I'll pop a little card or link to that for you, so you can find that if that is useful for you or anybody that you know. Thank you for your lovely comments about it. I hope it was really helpful. I believe it's already helping some people, so that's great. So today I've had a question from, let me just see, Pam from the Southwest. And I think this one's basically how we're all feeling, really. She basically says, I'm feeling really anxious about everything that's going on. And with Christmas coming now, I feel even worse, which I think we all can relate to. Have you got any tips or recommendations that you use when you are feeling anxious? So yes, I have, obviously. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. I even had a Christmas where I actually had to cancel Christmas, really, because I couldn't bear anybody coming around. I was having panic attacks. So yes, I've been there and worn the t-shirt, unfortunately. So today I thought I'd give you my top 5 tips on calming anxiety. Some of them you'll know, some of them I'll demonstrate for you, but the last couple are the ones that I really found helpful, and the very last one I'll show you how I combine some of these tips, and I pretty much do them every day to help everything be calm. Obviously I don't like doing these videos, so I have calming techniques, and always make sure you have a cat behind you. I can't show you, I think she's, oh look, you can just see her bottom behind the chair. Always have something that cheers you up. So I've got lots of flowers here. We found these on a roadside sort of trip out on Sunday, so that was lovely. And I've got a cup of chamomile tea. So those are my first tips. I shall do the top 5 tips for calming anxiety, and I really hope it helps. I've seen thousands of patients over the years as a natural health consultant, and now I've stopped clinic work for a bit. I want to pass on the really good, life-changing information I've learned to you. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe and the like video to help me keep this channel going, and hopefully other people can find what they need to. I'll pop anything I mention in the links below for you, and if you have any comments or questions, I'll reply to them below. When we're thinking about anxiety, what we really want to do is we want to stimulate the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a nerve, as you can see from this picture, that goes all the way round through the body. I think vagus means wandering or something like that, and it really does. So it connects the brain to loads and loads of different parts of the body, especially the gut. And what that does is when you stimulate the vagus nerve helps you to control or activate, if you like, your parasympathetic nervous system. So your sympathetic nervous system is the one where we do fight or freeze or flight if we're nervous, and the parasympathetic nervous system is the opposite. It's where we calm everything down, breathing is regulated, digestion is regulated, pulse rate's regulated, all that kind of stuff. So when we're feeling nervous and anxious, what we want to do is to get that parasympathetic nervous system more active than the sympathetic nervous system, if that makes any sense. And what helps to control that is this great big vagus nerve. And basically, it's a nerve, and people think nerves are something where impulses, if you like, come from the head down into the body. But the vagus nerve does both. So about 20% of, I think, its actions, or something like 10 to 20% of its action, is actually brain down. So nerve impulses come from the brain. So what you're thinking affects what goes on in your body, if you like. But 80 to 90% of it goes the opposite way. So from what you're doing with your body affects how you feel in your mind, if that makes any sense. So in other words, what we're doing with our body in terms of techniques to calm ourselves down that are physical, so things like that we'll go through, like breathing and exercise and whatever, you're doing it because actually what you're doing then is you're sending messages up your vagus nerve to your brain saying, please calm this down, I'm safe, I'm absolutely fine. Okay, so does that make sense? So basically what we're trying to do with any kind of tips with anxiety is, one of the things we want to do is to activate this vagus nerve. And many people actually have what's called poor vagal tone, which means that their vagus nerve isn't very strong, and so those are the type of people who will be more reactive to things in lots of different ways. So that might be, I don't know, you don't like noise, or you react to foods, or you get more anxious or overwhelmed than somebody else might in the same situation. And that's called poor vagus tone. And by doing vagus exercises, or in other words, things in your body to actually stimulate this vagus nerve, you will strengthen that. So over time, you become less and less reactive and overwhelmed. So I hope that little sort of potted history there of the vagus nerve is a very simplified way of talking about it, but that's how I think about it. So I hope that helps. So what we're going to talk about now are the top 5 tips for helping to build that vagus nerve tone, if you like, or to switch on the parasympathetic nervous system when you're feeling anxious. Tip number 1 is all about breathing, because that's one of the main ways to stimulate the vagus nerve and to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, if you're in a situation where you're feeling really anxious, one of the things you can do is just nip into the loo or do whatever and do some breathing exercises. So the first tip is basically really simple, to just do some diaphragmatic breathing. And all that means is if you put your hands on your ribs, when you take a deep breath in, you should feel your ribs move, and then if you whoosh the breath out, you should feel your ribs come back down again, and that's how you're taking a deep diaphragmatic breath. So let's have a go at that. So hands on your ribs, and we'll just breathe in, feel the ribs move, and breathe out. Dead simple, but really effective actually. So do that as many times as you think without getting lightheaded, that it might help. And then open the door, go downstairs, or whatever it is you're having to go back into, and know that your parasympathetic nervous system is activated, and that will calm you down. The second tip is again about breathing, but this time, and you can see I've got one here. This is called, there are 2 techniques I really like, and one is called box breathing, which is what this, and the other is called the 4-7-8 breathing technique, and they are specifically known to activate the parasympathetic nervous system and the vagus nerve, and can actually help in terms of insomnia if you're not sleeping as well. So sometimes I can do this if I'm not sleeping. I'll lie in bed and I'll do one of these techniques, and you can guarantee within a couple of minutes I've gone. It's a good go. So you can see on this one, dead easy, this is box breathing. So you breathe in for 4, so it's counting down the seconds here. Oh, where's my little thing? There it is, my little cursor. And then you hold for 4 seconds. And there are lots of little apps and things. This is just one I found. I'll put a link below for you on a website, which will show you how you do this. You're going to breathe out for 4 seconds, and then you hold again for 4 seconds. So you don't necessarily need to hold, you just don't breathe in until the 4 seconds have passed. So what you're basically doing is slowing your breathing rate down, and getting a very sort of regular breathing pattern. Okay, so let's go over that again. So you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and then hold for another 4, and start again. So again, do that 4 or 5 times, see how you feel. Don't get lightheaded about it. If you can't hold for long, don't worry about it. As you do this kind of thing, it'll become much easier for you. This one here is the 4-7-8 technique, a little bit more advanced than the box breathing, very, very effective. Do it about sort of 4 times, however you feel. And again, don't feel like if you can't, because this is the whole point of this one, is that you breathe in for an amount, and whatever you breathe in for the amount, you breathe out for double, if you see what I mean. That's the sort of trick to it, really. But if you can't do 4, 7, 8, it doesn't matter. The principle is the same. You'll get stronger and stronger at it. So don't sort of feel panicky and thinking, oh gosh, I can't breathe. Most people can't breathe out to 8 to start with. So don't worry about it. Just do whatever you can. So you might want to breathe in for 2, hold it for 5, and breathe out for 4. You know what I mean? So, but this is what you're sort of aiming at, the 4, 7, 8. So you breathe in for 4 through your nose. You hold your breath for 7. And you breathe out for 8, okay, through your mouth, preferably. This is based on an old Ayurvedic technique, I think, called pranayama. Oh, I hope I've got that pronunciation right. But basically, that's what we're trying to do. And again, very well known for helping with people who can't sleep very well. But the reason why it works is because it activates that vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. So let's have a go with it then. So let's breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in for 4. 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then breathe out. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And stop. I think I went backwards on one of those there, but anyway, you get the point. So again, don't worry about if you breathed out everything by 6 or 5 or something like that, because I remember I did that when I first started. I'm a very shallow breather. That's fine. Don't worry about it. You will get there. Okay, so that's the 4, 7, 8 breathing technique. So that's tip 2. The next tip is some classic vagus nerve stimulation techniques. So really quick ones. The best ones I've found are cold, so actually going out into cold weather and going for a walk, or splashing cold water on your face, having a quick turning the shower to cold in the mornings is a well-known way of activating the vagus nerve and therefore the parasympathetic nervous system. I can't say that very well today, can I? Sorry. So cold is a good one. Humming is a classic. So sort of mid-range sort of songs. A lot of people say Disney tunes. Since I'm not into Disney, I don't know really what that means, but you may do. So Disney tunes and humming along, because the vagus nerve goes through the throat. So a lot of things that you do with your throat will actually help that vagus tone. So it'll get stronger as you do things. So humming is one of them. Gargling is another. In fact, one of the ways I was taught to check to see the vagus tone in somebody was to see how much they can gargle. So can you gargle and hold it for a while? And the other way is actually to see if somebody's got a good gag rate reflex. Not a very pleasant thing to do in clinic, but basically, if somebody says to me, "Oh, I never gag," or my gag reflex is not very good, or something like that, then you know that the vagus tone is not particularly brilliant. So in fact, one doctor that I knew actually used to make people gag. Obviously, he didn't do it to them, but used to, say to them at home, sort of put a thing down your throat and just make yourself gag quite regularly every day. I thought, oh, lovely, that's a nice one. I think I'd rather have humming, even gargling, to be honest, than that, but it is very effective. And then the other one is singing. So that's why choirs are very calming. So because you're vibrating in this vagal tone area, if you like. So not only is singing really joyous, or depending what you're singing, I suppose you could be singing something that was quite depressing, but generally speaking, I find singing joyous. And you're with other people, or you can belt it out at home in the shower, or while you're doing the washing up or the hoovering or whatever. whatever. But singing and humming is are really good ways of activating that parasympathetic nervous system. So again, go for your walk in the cold and do some humming, or sing away to yourself to whatever it is you've got on your your system that you're listening to in your ears. Okay, so the next one, tip 4, my favourite, to be honest, this is the one that I wrote about quite a lot in the healing plan. I'll pop a link below for you on that. The healing plan was the book that I wrote to show how I managed to calm my amygdala system down. So in your brain, the amygdala controls this fight or flight, a reactivity sort of system. And it's all linked to the vagus nerve and vagus activity. And one of the techniques I found was by a chap called Daniel Benor, and it was called WE, and I just used to like saying I'm going for a wee, but that's just as my puerile sense of humour. WHEE, which stood for, I think it's holistic hybrid of EFT and EMDR, if you know what I mean by those. EFT is the tapping thing, and EMDR is where you're moving your eyes. People use it for trauma. So it's a sort of mixture between those things. And I found that if I did EFT on its own, it didn't work particularly brilliantly for me. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. If I did EMDR, worked really, really well, but it's actually a difficult thing to do for yourself. But I had some therapy with it once. In fact, Philip, people who will remember our clinic in Upper Mill, was actually a clinical hypnotherapist, and he used to use a lot of EMDR. In fact, he used it on me because I was really worried about going to Scotland. I had to drive all the way to Scotland on my own, and I was really concerned about it. So he did one session of EMDR, and to this day I still get what it was he told me to say, that I'm calm, I can do this, I'm a really good driver, and it still comes up whenever I'm really scared about driving anywhere. So there you go, it works. But anyway, that's great when you've got a therapist to do that. But the technique, the WE technique, and it's now called TWR, I think, transformative holistic reintegration, which is a bit tacky. I prefer saying WE, really, is a mixture between those things. So I'm going to demonstrate it for you here. It's really simple. It's part of a sort of, if you like, it's a brain training technique. So you do what's called the butterfly hug, first of all, so I'll show that. So you're going to, the point is that you want to do alternate movements in some way. So I find the butterfly hug like this, and you can do it to whatever speed you want. You can do very slowly, or you can go quite quickly, or whatever it feels. There's no right or wrong to it. All you're doing is alternating movements. So that's one way of doing it. One crafty way I used to do when I was in a situation where there's people then, I had to calm myself down quickly, is I did it with my tongue behind my teeth, and I just used to go from one side of my mouth to the other with my tongue. I wouldn't do that very much because it did cause me a jaw problem. Oh, I don't think it helped with the jaw problem that I already had anyway, but don't do too much of it like I did. And the other thing to do is in your shoes or your slippers, just basically either scrunch your toes up, I'm doing it now as I'm talking, scrunch your toes up, or just tap your feet alternatively, something like that. You can even put your hands on you can't see, on your thighs, on your legs, and just tap your, so pretend this is on my thighs and tap like that. So as long as you're doing some kind of alternative movement, that's the sort of basis of the MDR. And what it's doing is that, I don't know the technicalities of it, but the way I think about it is it helps the brain be distracted, if you like, so that it takes in more what you're actually saying to it. So that's the alternating sort of movement that you do. And there's a sort of structure to doing WE. So you start off saying what's wrong, in great detail, and how you're feeling about it. And I'll take you through a sort of example one in a second. And then you end by saying something really, really positive. So you say the opposite of what you should be feeling, or, so you're sort of replacing a negative with a positive, if you like. So in essence, you start off, so you always start off saying the same kind of thing. So you say something like, even though I feel really anxious today, I'm not really quite sure why. So obviously I'm making this up, but you talk, and it doesn't matter what you say, trust your subconscious, basically. It will come up with whatever you need to do, whatever is the right thing for you to say. So don't worry about it. Just let your subconscious take over and just say whatever comes into your mind. So even though I feel really anxious, I'm feeling really sort of quite tight-chested, I can't breathe particularly well, I'm not sleeping well, this has been going on for absolutely ages, I've got people coming for Christmas, that's making me feel even worse, symptomatically I'm getting headaches, I really don't want to cope with these people. I don't know how I'm going to cope. I've got to cook all this dinner, blah, 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 blah. You get the point. So talking about what's going on, how you're feeling, how long it's been going on, that kind of thing. Okay, so even though blah, 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 blah. But despite that, instead, I choose to feel calm. I feel much calmer. I know that I can calm down. I know that all these things I will cope with. I've coped with them before. I'm not daft. I'll do anything that I need to. I'll go into the loo and do my breathing, whatever it might be. I feel calm. I love and accept myself. I know that people around me love me and accept myself. And if I feel stressful, I might just tell them that I feel a bit stressful about it and calm down, or I'll go and have another drink in the kitchen or whatever it might be. I feel calm. I feel calm. I feel a lot less anxious. I can cope with this. This feeling will pass. I know it's not really me. This isn't that I'm not an anxious person. This is just the circumstances, and I'm working on my vagal tone, and I'm working on vagus things that Micki told me to do, and I know that that's going to calm me down. I love and accept myself wholly and completely. I am perfect as I am. I'm absolutely fine. This is going to pass. I am nice and calm. I am calm. Okay, so obviously you'll do it a lot better than I did, but you get the point. So you talk about, even though this is happening, this is going to be. So I used to use that technique an awful lot for pain. It works really well for pain. In fact, actually, that's what Daniel Benoit first brought it out for. So whenever I was having my jaw pain or a migraine or mouth pain or pains in my legs when I was going through PTSD treatment, things like that, I would just say, even though I'm in this pain and I've got this pain, and I'll describe what it's really sharp or it's aching or blah, blah, blah. It's been going on for, I'm absolutely fed up to the back bloody teeth with it. I feel really low about it. There doesn't seem to be much point in living. And, I did get quite like that. For a while, I used to say, and then turn it back round again and say, I release this pain, I let go of this pain. This pain is trying to tell me something, and I'm sorry that I'm not listening. I'm asking my pain now, what is it that it's trying to tell me? I'm listening. I'm going to keep my eyes and ears open, listen for the message, and I'm going to act on it. There is no need for this pain anymore. I release this pain. I love and accept myself wholly and completely, and I am listening to this pain, and I release it now. There's no need for it. That's basically how I used to do it. In a very short fashion. That used to go on for flipping minutes, honestly, sometimes. But it helps. And then do it several times. So you'll say certain things the same, you'll say other things. Mine used to be that even though phrase, and then the I love and accept myself wholly and completely is a standard sort of phrase, and I always used to use that one and finish off, and I always used to finish off with saying, and thank you very much for helping me. Whoever it is that's listening up there, whether you think that's God, whether it's a universal thing, or whatever, I always used to say, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'm listening, that kind of thing, okay? And in a funny kind of way, it helps you feel a bit more in control of it because you're doing something about it. But more often than not, it would stop the pain, and it certainly helps with anxiety. So I hope it does the same thing for you. As I say, I've written about this in my healing plan and talked a lot more about other brain training techniques, actually, which is to help to calm the whole of the nervous system down. So from that amygdala that's set on high, you think, it comes across things and overreacts to them all the time in lots of different ways. And the reason why that happens, and you'll read more about this in the healing plan, is because if you have some kind of trauma, certainly before 10 years of age, your brain is just setting, if you like, and the amygdala gets set at too high a level because you're not feeling safe at the time when it's sort of really sort of setting itself. And so you end up throughout life having a much higher lack of safety level than somebody else. So your body sees danger or your mind, or your amygdala anyway, reacts to what it thinks is dangers, which aren't dangers at all. So for me, that turned out to be food. And chemicals, for other people it might be something else, but the whole trick of that book was how I convinced my amygdala to turn that dial back down again, and that everything was safe. Can't say it's a finished deal, because it isn't, but at least I know how to control it, and it's a heck of a few notches lower than it used to be, trust me. So I'll pop a link to that healing plan below. Do get it for yourself, or give it as a present to somebody. It will help with any kind of chronic illness when you're dealing with pain or anxiety or trauma. So hopefully that will help there. So that was tip number 4. I'm just going to let the cat out. Can you see it behind me? Look, she wants to go out. Hang on a second. So finally, tip number 5 is a sort of combination of all of that. What I found is that my best way is to use walking, if you like, as that alternative thing. So if you think about walking, you're sort of moving your feet alternately, aren't you? So I found that if I went for a walk, preferably in the cold, so obviously the vagus is stimulated by cold. So we've got the we, or TWR as we call it, we've got the cold, and I used to do my talking to myself in my head. So I do the moving my legs and then talking, even though blah 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 blah, and then give myself the positive and end with I love and accept myself wholly and completely. So that really works for me, because you're getting out into nature, hopefully, you're getting some cold. I mean, you're doing your brain training and convincing your body to let go of anxiety. And if you don't want to do the chattering away to yourself, I'm sure I used to do it moving my mouth, and people used to think I was some nutty woman from Warwickshire, which is not that far from the truth. But anyway, what you could do is put some music on and hum to it. So that was another one I used to do, because then you've got music which is raising endorphins anyway. Can't fail to cheer you up if you're playing something happy. I have a happy playlist actually, and there are certain few songs where if I'm feeling really low, I'll put it on. And I used to do a anxiety workshop for the NHS, and one of the things I used to do is to get people to lie on the floor, and I used to play a really detailed piece of music to them. It was actually, I can't remember what it was now. Might have been Vivaldi, or I think it might have been a Celtic one from Celtic Moods, which I liked at the time. Something like the British Airways advert one, whatever that is. Anyway, it's something that has lots of layers to it. And one of the tricks is to lie or walk, or however you're doing, and follow just one of the strands of the music, if you see what I mean. So follow just that one strand all the way through, and then play it again and follow a different strand all the way through. It's very meditative actually, but if you hum, once you get to know it obviously, if you hum that at the same time as listening to it, you're actually getting the vagus involved as well. So that's a quick way of how I might combine certain things. So mostly I'll go for a walk, I'll chatter away to myself, I might even in my pockets be moving my hands as well as my feet or something like that, or I might be humming. Obviously if you feel like you want to be completely mad, you can sing out loud as you're walking, do whatever, but that's why I think dancing can help, because if you think about it, you're doing your alternate moving. If while you're dancing around your kitchen or whatever it is you're doing, try doing the wee technique while you're doing that. So your dancing is the alternate movement thing. That's me dancing. And if you talk about what's going on with you, and then do your replacement thing as per the way as I've just demonstrated it, that's going to help, isn't it? So those are my sort of combinations, if you like. So those are my top 5 tips. I hope you found them really useful. If you did, please like the channel, please subscribe, so that I think there's a little bell that you can press and ask for notifications whenever I launch something. I'm really hoping these videos are helping. It's my sort of way of getting information out in a bit more of an effective way. I've been blogging for absolutely years. I've only just started doing the vlogging because I think I haven't done it because I've been quite shy. Actually, I'm quite enjoying doing it. I know they're not perfect, but I hope you're finding them useful. So please share, like and subscribe. It helps me keep this channel going and hopefully keep the business going, especially since it's been hit a lot like everybody else has with the pandemic. All right, so don't be anxious, and if you do feel anxious, just remind yourself that everything's going to be okay. One of my favourite phrases is "this too will pass," because it will. It'll pass, and so there's no need for you to get too het up about it. But hopefully those techniques I've shown you will help with any acute anxiety that's going on at the moment, and especially over the Christmas period, and the next few months as we come through the pandemic, hopefully. But also for long-term vagal tone. So if you're a sort of reactive, set too high amygdala type person, and you're not sleeping well, or you feel anxious, you feel panicky, you've had traumas, then follow especially the WE and the TWR and the healing plan stuff, because I promise it will help. Okay, so thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next video. Okay, if I don't, oh yeah, I'll try and do a video for you before Christmas, but if I don't, have a lovely time. Okay, see you soon.